All right, buckle up, everyone. We're going to dive deep into website speed optimization today. You know milliseconds matter. But getting your site up to warp speed, it can feel like rocket science, right?
Yeah.
But no worries, we've got this. We're taking a look at the Boost Your Website Performance article. It's from Now Technology Systems. I love how they break it down for small businesses like yours, without getting too techy.
It's a smart approach because even seemingly small improvements can make a huge difference, especially when you think about how competitive the online landscape is, here in Australia.
Totally. It's like that saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. If your site takes forever to load,
Yeah.
people are bouncing before they even see what you offer.
Exactly. And it's not just about looking slick and professional. A slow website can actively hurt your search engine ranking. Google's algorithms favor sites that load quickly, meaning you could be missing out on valuable traffic.
Okay, so speed impacts user experience and the SEO. I'm guessing there's an accessibility angle here too, right?
Absolutely. Websites that are slow or unresponsive, they can create barriers for people with disabilities, particularly those using assistive technologies. This ties directly into the Australian Web Accessibility Standards, which emphasize the importance of inclusive design.
So speed is a trifecta. Good for users, good for search engines, and good for inclusivity. I'm sold. But what exactly causes these website slowdowns? The article lists a bunch of culprits.
One of the biggest offenders is oversized images. They might look stunning, but if they're not optimized, they're like lead weights dragging down your site's performance.
It's funny you should mention that, because I used to be guilty of this. I'd upload those massive high-resolution images straight from my camera without a second thought. Let's just say I learned my lesson the hard way.
We've all been there. The good news is, resizing and compressing those images is a relatively simple fix, and there are tons of free tools available to help you do it.
Like taking all the air out of a Ziploc bag. Same stuff inside, but way less space. What about unoptimized code? That sounds a bit more intimidating.
It can be, but the basic idea is that messy code. It takes longer for browsers to process. Think of it like a cluttered storeroom versus a well-organized one. It takes more time to find what you're looking for when things are all over the place.
Okay, so keeping things tidy in the back end is important. I'm guessing plugins fall into that category, right?
Yeah.
I have a confession. I love trying out new plugins. But sometimes it feels like my website is starting to groan under the weight of them all.
It's a common trap. Each plugin adds more code that needs to be loaded, which can definitely impact speed. It's all about finding a balance between functionality and performance.
Speaking of performance, the article also mentions server location as a factor. Does that really make a difference? I mean, isn't the internet, everywhere?
It is. But data still has to travel. And the physical distance between your server and your visitors, it can affect loading times. For businesses targeting a primarily Australian audience, having servers located within Australia can make a noticeable difference.
So it's like if you're in Perth and your server's in Sydney, that data is making a cross-country road trip every time someone visits your site.
Exactly. Think of it like having a shop in Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth. No matter where your customer is, they're getting your product fast.
Now that's an analogy I can get behind.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know what can slow down a website. Now let's talk about what we can do to speed things up.
We'll dive into specifics in a bit, but at a high level, it's about optimizing every aspect of your website, from those images we talked about earlier to the very code that makes it run.
I'm ready to get my hands dirty. But before we do, I'm curious about something. You mentioned earlier that speed impacts SEO. How exactly does that work? Does Google have a stopwatch on every website?
Not exactly a stopwatch, but they definitely have systems in place to measure how quickly a website loads. It's all part of their algorithm for determining which sites are most relevant and user-friendly, and therefore deserve a higher rating in search results.
So speed is basically a secret weapon for climbing the Google ladder.
Think of it that way. In today's digital world, speed is no longer just a technical consideration. It's a strategic advantage.
All right, you've convinced me. Speed is king. Let's talk about those practical steps we can take to boost performance. The article mentions optimizing images. We've covered that. What about minifying code? Does that really make a big difference?
It can, especially if you have a lot of code on your site. Minifying basically strips out all the unnecessary characters and spacing in your code, making the files smaller and faster to download.
So it's like condensing a novel into a short story. Same content, but less fluff.
A perfect analogy.
What about browser caching? I've heard that term thrown around, but never fully understood what it means.
It's a brilliant way to speed things up for repeat visitors. Essentially, it allows browsers to store certain elements of your website locally so they don't have to be downloaded every single time.
So it's like having a VIP lane for
Yeah.
frequent shoppers.
Exactly. It can significantly reduce loading times. For people who come back to your site regularly,
Okay, I'm loving these analogies. What about CDNs? Those sound a bit more technical. Well, imagine you have a customer in Perth who wants to buy your product. If your server's all the way over in Sydney, that data has to travel a long way, which takes time.
but with a CDN, you're essentially creating a network of servers all over the world. So when that customer in Perth visits your site, the data is delivered from a server that's much closer to them, resulting in faster loading times.
So it's like having a network of warehouses strategically placed around the country so you can get your products to customers faster.
You got it. And this is especially important for businesses that operate globally or even nationally here in Australia, where distances can be vast.
It makes perfect sense. So we've got image optimization, minifying code, browser caching, and CDNs. What else can we do to give our websites a speed boost?
We've covered some great foundational strategies, but before we get into more advanced tactics, it's crucial to have a way to measure our progress, right? That's where website speed testing tools come in.
You're reading my mind. I was just about to ask about those. The article mentions a few, like Google Page Speed Insights, Metrics, and Pingdom. Which ones are your favorites, and what makes them unique?
Each tool has its own strengths, and it's often beneficial to use a combination of them to get a well-rounded view of your website's performance. Google Page Speed Insights is a great starting point because it gives you a score out of 100, which can be a good indicator of your overall speed.
So it's like a quick and easy health check for your website.
Exactly. But it also provides detailed insights into specific areas where you can improve, like image optimization or code minification. Metrics is another great tool that offers a more comprehensive analysis of your website's loading process, breaking down the different elements and how long they take to load.
So if Page Speed Insights is the quick checkup, Metrics is the deep dive medical scan.
You could say that. And then there's Pingdom, which is particularly useful for testing your website's speed from different locations around the world.
So I could see how my site performs for someone in Sydney versus someone in London, for example.
Precisely. It's all about getting a realistic picture of how your website performs for users in different parts of the globe.
And that's key, especially for businesses here in Australia that are looking to reach a national or even international audience.
Couldn't agree more. Remember, website speed is not a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process of monitoring, testing, and optimizing. But by taking these steps and utilizing these tools, you can ensure that your website is performing at its best, providing a positive experience for your visitors, and boosting your chances of success in the ever-competitive online world.
This has been incredibly helpful. It feels like we've just scratched the surface, though. There's going to be more to this speed optimization puzzle, right?
You bet there is. We've laid a strong foundation with these core concepts, but there are deeper, more technical aspects we can explore to really fine-tune your website's performance.
All right, I'm ready to go deeper down the rabbit hole. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be back with part 2 of this deep dive. We will uncover even more strategies to make your website a speed demon. Welcome back, speed demons. Ready to crank things up a notch? We've tackled the basics, but now it's time to get under the hood and tinker with the engine.
That's right. We're going beyond the front-end tweaks and diving into the world of server-side optimization. This is where you can really unlock some serious speed gains.
Okay, I'm feeling a bit like a mechanic here. What kind of tools are we talking about?
Think of it like fine-tuning a race car. It's not just about flashy paint. It's about what's happening under the hood. One of the first things to consider is your hosting plan.
Gotcha. So it's like choosing the right engine for your vehicle. You wouldn't put a tiny scooter engine in a monster truck, right?
Exactly. If you're on a shared hosting plan, it's like being stuck in traffic with a bunch of other websites vying for the same resources. Upgrading to a VPS or dedicated server is like having your own express lane.
Okay. More power, less congestion. What else can we do on the server side to boost performance?
Caching is your secret weapon. It's like having a stash of pre-made meals ready to go, instead of cooking from scratch every time someone's hungry.
Sounds delicious. But how does it work for websites?
Imagine a popular recipe on your site. Every time someone wants to see it, the server has to fetch all the ingredients, combine them, and present the final dish with caching. The server stores a copy of that finished recipe so it can be served instantly the next time someone requests it.
So it's like having the meal prepped and plated, ready to be served instantly, No waiting around for the chef.
Exactly. And there are plugins that make this super easy to implement, like W3 Total Cache or WP Super Cache. These plugins can significantly reduce server load and speed up your site, especially for pages that don't change often.
Okay. Caching is definitely going on my to-do list. What about databases? I know they're important, but I've always found them a bit mysterious.
Databases are the heart of your website, storing all your content, user data, and settings, but just like a real heart. They need to be kept healthy to perform well.
What can go wrong with a website's heart?
Over time, databases can become cluttered with unnecessary information, like old revisions, spam comments, and orphan data.
It's like the junk drawer we all have, full of things we might need someday, but probably never will.
Exactly. And all that clutter can slow down database queries, which in turn slows down your website. The good news is, regular database optimization is like a good decluttering session.
Okay, I'm ready to Marie Kondo my database.
Yeah.
What's involved in that process?
There are a few key steps. Cleaning up old revisions and deleting spam comments are great starting points. You can also optimize database tables, which is like reorganizing your files for more efficient retrieval.
So it's like defragging your hard drive back in the day. Everything gets put back in its rightful place.
That's a great analogy. And just like defragging, regular database optimization can make a noticeable difference in your website's speed and overall performance.
All right, I'm convinced. Time to clean house. Anything else we should consider when it comes to databases?
Absolutely. Choosing the right database management system is key. MySQL is the standard for WordPress, but MariaDB is gaining popularity as a faster and more efficient alternative.
So it's like choosing the right filing system for your business. Some are better suited for different types of content and usage.
Exactly. And just like with any system, regular maintenance and optimization are crucial for keeping things running smoothly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Server-side optimization is sounding less scary and more like a good spring cleaning for my website. What about the front end? We talked about image optimization and code minification earlier, but are there other tricks we can use to make things snappier for visitors?
You bet. Let's talk about minimizing HTTP requests.
HTTP request. I'm not sure I've heard that term before. What are we minimizing exactly?
Every time someone visits your website, their browser has to make multiple requests to the server to fetch all the files needed to display the page, like images, style sheets, and scripts.
Okay, so it's like a shopping list.
Yeah.
The browser's going back and forth to the store,
Yeah.
picking up each item one by one.
Precisely. And the more items on the list, the longer it takes to complete the shopping trip. Minimizing HTTP requests is all about making that list as short as possible.
So how do we do that?
Combining CSS and JavaScript files is a great starting point. It's like putting all your produce in one bag, instead of having a separate bag for each apple and banana.
Makes sense. Any other ways to streamline that shopping trip?
CSS sprites are another handy technique. It's like creating one large image that contains all the smaller icons and graphics used on your site, instead of having separate files for each one.
So it's like a buffet platter
Yeah.
instead of individual appetizers.
Exactly. And there's a neat trick called data URIs, where you can embed small images directly into your HTML code. This eliminates the need for a separate HTTP request for those images.
Wow. These are some clever strategies. It's like optimizing a shopping route to hit all the stores in the most efficient way possible.
You've got it. And just like with route optimization, every little tweak can save you time and improve your website's performance.
I'm starting to feel like a website speed optimization ninja. What other front-end magic tricks do you have up your sleeve?
Let's talk about lazy loading. Remember those images we talked about earlier? Lazy loading is a way to defer the loading of images that aren't immediately visible on the screen until the user scrolls down to them.
Ah, so it's like only displaying the clothes on the mannequins
Yeah.
in the front window and then revealing the rest of the collection as customers walk further into the store.
Perfect analogy. This can dramatically improve the initial page load time, especially for pages with lots of images.
So it's all about creating a smooth and seamless experience, even if some things are happening behind the scenes.
Precisely. And remember, speed optimization is all about finding the right balance between delivering a rich and engaging experience while keeping things fast and efficient.
This is all making so much sense now. It's not just about making things go faster. It's about understanding how all these different pieces fit together to create a truly optimized website.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's like conducting an orchestra. Every instrument plays its part. And when they're all in sync, The result is a beautiful symphony.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
But we've been so focused on the technical side of things. What about the content itself? Does that play a role in website speed?
Absolutely. We can tweak and optimize the code all day long, but if the content itself is bulky and inefficient, we're still going to have a sluggish website.
All right, I'm ready to declutter my content. What are some things we can do to make sure our content is lean and mean?
Let's start with the heavy hitters: images, videos, and audio files. These can be major culprits of slow loading times, especially on mobile devices.
We've already talked about optimizing images. But what about videos? Should we even bother including them on our websites? If we're worried about speed,
Videos can be incredibly engaging and valuable, but we need to be smart about how we use them. Consider using a video hosting platform, like YouTube or Vimeo, which are optimized for speed and streaming. This takes the load off your own server and ensures a smoother playback experience.
so it's like outsourcing the video production to a team of experts.
Exactly. And for audio files, using a compressed format like MP3 and keeping the files as short as possible can make a big difference.
Okay, so optimize those media files. What about written content? Does that impact speed too?
It might seem counterintuitive, but even text can contribute to slow loading times if it's not formatted efficiently.
Really? I never thought about that. How can we optimize text for speed?
One simple but effective tip is to avoid using excessive formatting. Too many bold tags, italics, and other formatting elements can add unnecessary weight to the page.
So keep it clean and concise. Got it.
Exactly. Also, avoid using large blocks of text. Breaking up your content into smaller paragraphs with headings and subheadings makes it easier to read and digest, which indirectly improves the perceived speed of the page.
It's like presenting information in bite-sized pieces, instead of overwhelming people with a giant text-heavy feast.
Exactly. Remember, content optimization is all about finding that sweet spot between delivering valuable information and ensuring a smooth and enjoyable reading experience.
This has been incredibly insightful. We've covered so much ground, from server-side configurations to content formatting. But there's one crucial area we haven't tackled yet: mobile optimization.
That's right. In today's mobile-first world, optimizing your website for smartphones and tablets is absolutely essential. But we're running out of time for this segment. We'll dive into the world of mobile optimization in part 3 of our deep dive.
All right, folks, welcome back for the grand finale of our website Speed Optimization Deep Dive. We've covered a ton of ground, from server-side sorcery to content streamlining. But there's one last frontier to conquer: mobile optimization.
Yeah, it's not just a trend anymore, it's a reality. More and more people are browsing the web on their phones and tablets. And if your website isn't optimized for those tiny screens, you're missing out on a huge chunk of potential visitors and customers.
I totally get that. But it can't just be about shrinking everything down to fit a smaller screen, right? What are the key things we need to consider when optimizing for mobile?
You're absolutely right. It's not just about aesthetics. It's about functionality and speed. Think about it this way. You're on the go, you need information quickly, and you're trying to navigate a website. With your thumb, everything needs to be clear, concise, and lightning fast.
Okay, I'm starting to see the picture. So what are the specific elements we need to focus on?
Navigation is crucial. Tiny buttons and menus that require precise clicking are a recipe for frustration on a touchscreen. Think big, bold buttons and clear, intuitive layouts.
It's like designing a website for someone wearing oven mitts. Everything needs to be easy to tap and navigate.
Exactly. And forget about those hover-activated drop-down menus. They're a nightmare on mobile. Stick to clear, visible menus that are easy to tap and scroll through.
Got it. What about content? Do we need to create a completely separate mobile version of our website?
Not necessarily. Responsive design is your best friend here. This means your website automatically adjusts its layout and content to fit different screen sizes.
So it's like a website that can shapeshift depending on the device it's being viewed on.
Precisely. But even with responsive design, it's important to think about streamlining your content for mobile. Remember, people are often on the go and have shorter attention spans.
Let's cut to the chase.
Exactly. Prioritize your most important information, use clear headings and bullet points, and break up long paragraphs into smaller, more digestible chunks.
It's like writing a haiku instead of a novel. Every word has to count.
That's a great analogy. Now let's talk about images and videos, the potential bandwidth hogs of the mobile world.
Okay, I know we've talked about optimizing images in general, but are there any specific considerations for mobile? Do we need to shrink them down even further?
Absolutely. File size is crucial on mobile, especially for people browsing on slower networks. Consider using image formats like WebP, which offer better compression and quality than traditional JPEGs and PNGs.
WebP, got it. It's like squeezing even more air out of that Ziploc bag we talked about earlier. What about videos? Are they even worth including on mobile sites, given the potential for slow loading times and data usage?
Videos can still be valuable, but we need to be strategic. Use a video hosting platform that offers adaptive streaming, which automatically adjusts the video quality based on the user's connection speed.
So it's like having a video that can shapeshift to fit the available bandwidth. Pretty cool.
It is. And always offer alternative ways to consume video content, like transcripts or audio-only versions for users who might be on limited data plans.
Accessibility and user choice, always important considerations. So we've covered navigation, content, and media. Anything else we need to keep in mind for mobile optimization?
Testing. It's crucial to see how your website actually performs on different mobile devices and networks. Don't just assume it's working fine because it looks good on your own phone.
You're right. I've been guilty of that myself. But how can we effectively test on a wide range of devices without buying a dozen different phones?
There are fantastic online tools and emulators that let you preview your website on various devices and simulate different network speeds. Google Chrome's developer tools is a great starting point.
So we can basically run virtual experiments
To
see how our website performs under different conditions. That's amazing.
It is. And there are more comprehensive services like Browser Stack and Sauce Labs that offer a wider range of devices and browsers for testing.
Wow, this is incredibly helpful. It seems like there are so many resources available to help us optimize our websites for the best possible user experience, no matter what device someone is using.
Exactly. Remember, mobile optimization is not a one-time task. The landscape is constantly evolving. With new devices and technologies emerging all the time, stay informed, adapt, and continue to refine your website to provide the best possible mobile experience.
This has been a truly eye-opening journey. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of what it takes to create a truly optimized website, one that's fast, engaging, and accessible to everyone, no matter how they're accessing it.
That's what it's all about. Remember, a fast website isn't just about technical wizardry. It's an investment in your users, your brand, and your overall success in the digital world.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a ton of ground, but the journey doesn't end here. I encourage everyone listening to take these insights, experiment, and see what works best for your own websites.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to tinker, test, and iterate. And remember, the world of web optimization is constantly evolving, so stay curious and keep learning.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into website speed optimization. Happy optimizing, everyone.